Hi, Layla. You're co-host of the meeting now, so I think yeah, you could change your mute mic settings and stuff.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Okay, cool.
So, I'm not sure if anyone's gonna join because of the Zoom situation, but what's gonna happen is like I'm gonna record the meeting. You do your thing,
Okay.
and I'm gonna post it on YouTube, and so people can see.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Sounds good. I've been having some issues with
I see.
connecting, but hopefully I don't
Okay.
cut out. But I think I should be good.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be here on the side. I'm gonna mute myself, and if you ever need me, just let me know.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I guess I'll just get started. Hi everyone, my name is Layla. I can give a quick introduction about myself and what we'll be going over today. So, my name is Layla. I'm in my second year of computer science at the University of Windsor. I'm doing a specialization in computer science, software engineering specialization, and I'm currently leading the Google Developer Student Club at the University of Windsor. I'm involved in a couple of other things as well, so Computer Science Society and the School of Undergraduate Students of the School of Computer Science. So today I'm just going to be doing a fairly short GitHub and Git tutorial. So let me just get something set up here on my end, and then we can get started. So there's a fairly good amount of documentation that's available for GitHub and Git. I will be linking some links in the chat here. I'm not sure if they will be shared later on, but just for your own reference, you could always look through those installation documentation and any instructions that follow. So give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing my screen. Okay, so I think we can see that. So my screen here. Basically today, I'm just going to be doing a quick overview on how to create your own repository, how to update and add files to your GitHub account, and then also how to pull those changes to your local machine through Git Bash and the terminal that exists. So we can start by going on to GitHub. So you do need to set up an account here. You'll want to make note of the email that you use because you might need that later on. And it's just, pretty sure you can sign up using Google as well. So it's fairly easy process. Once you're here, we're going to go to the new repository and we're going to create one. Make sure again that it's short and it is fairly descriptive of what it's going to be. So I'm just going to name this GitHub tutorial. And it says that the same is available. So in the description, we can just say that this repository is run using GitHub. Okay, so I do see some people joining in. So nothing has happened yet. We're just creating a repository on GitHub. Here you can decide whether you want to make your repository public or private. So depending on what you're going to be using this project for and what the scope of your project is, if this is something that you just want for your own personal sake, you can probably make it private. It'd be a good thing to do. If you want it to be public to showcase, or even if it's a collaborative project, then you can make that public as well. In either case, you can choose who can commit changes to your code and how you can pull it to the main branch, which we'll go over later on today. But either way, you'll have to make those decisions yourself. The only difference is who can view the repository. So for this case, we're going to be making it public. And now you have an option of how you're going to initialize your repository. So you can do this a couple of different ways that they have here. We're not importing an existing one, so we will be creating one from scratch. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding a README file. So this is, like it mentions, a long description for your project. Basically, a README file is the default display for your GitHub project as well. It's just a standard Markdown file that will describe what your project is about. It'll include any installation procedures, documentation clarifications, and information that you think is important for any users who are going to be downloading your code or using your application. So we're not going to be adding any git ignore. That's not necessary for us right now, just a basic introduction. And we don't need a license as well. So this will set main as the default branch. Basically, just an overview. You have different branches in your repository that allows different people to make changes, and main is where all of the changes get merged at the end. So GitHub, if for those who aren't familiar, it's kind of a central hub, I guess, of where all of the changes of your code are going to be stored. You can see the history, the raw code files you can download, you can clone into your local machine. And the main purpose is to manage version control. So when you're working in a group project, let's say outside of computer science, typically what you do, you can create a Google Doc, or you can, I guess, in person, pass around a piece of paper. And in that case, you need to keep track of what version you're on, if you've made any changes, if you've erased anything, just in case you need to go back a step or two, or if you want to add anything new. So in this case, GitHub helps with maintaining a version control. Let's say we have 3, 4, sometimes even larger groups of people, 20 or 30 groups of people working on a software dev project. You're probably not going to want to send versions of code back and forth through Discord or however else you want to send code. So GitHub is probably the best way to manage version control. And when you're working in a team, you're going to push those changes to different branches, and then they'll be merged to main at the end. So when we're creating a new repository, this will set main as the default branch. We can change this name. The default setting in the convention is to keep it as main, so I would recommend we keep that. So let's go ahead and create the repository. This is just a quick setup, so we don't really need to, I guess, nothing that we need to do. So if we've done this kind of thing before, there's 2 different ways that we're going to clone this to our local machine later on. So let me just make sure that this was initialized with a README. Okay, so let's go back. There's SSH keys, which we won't really go into much in depth today. It's another way that you can clone the repository to your local machine, or you can use git bash and the link to the repository itself. So it has, like I said, GitHub has lots of documentation available online. You can probably find things with a quick Google search, which is probably 90% of being a software dev anyways. So you can create a new repository on the command line or push from the command line. So we can go over this when we open up git bash later on. So let me link GitHub for those who need it in the chat. Okay, so we can go into the repositories here. So if you go into your account, it will show up under the list of repositories. So we have a lot of different tabs here at the top. For now, we're just going to focus on the README file. So this, like I said, .md, it's just a standard Markdown file. We can edit right in GitHub. So let's try that first, and then we can practice committing changes on our local machine later on. So right now, if we just go to edit, this is just the header. This repository is a test run for using GitHub and Git. We can add a subheading, welcome. So this is just a standard Markdown file. So this is where most of We can add some more information. So basically, this is where you're going to tell people what they need to know before they download your code, before they try running it. Sometimes GitHub is also used just for information, so there's sometimes not even code there. I remember finding some internship advice on GitHub, so it's just a way to store information, I guess. So today we'll go over the following things, and I will just copy that in here. So we're going to learn how to create a repository, which we just did, how to add files in there. So right now we just have the README file, how to update files to the repository, how to push and pull using GitHub and Git, and then a basic intro to Git Bash, how to clone the repo to your local machine using VS Code, and then we can go over any questions, comments, or concerns. So we have a couple steps to get started. So first, what we're going to want to do is get signed up with GitHub. Fairly simple process, and make sure you know your email address. To be honest, you're only going to need your email address when you use SSH keys. So SSH stands for Secure Shell. When you download something from GitHub or push something to your GitHub account, GitHub requires some sort of authentication process to make sure that it's really you who has your account. So that's why you'll need your email address. But since we're going to be using Git Bash takes care of the authentication process already, because when you download the app, it actually does the sign up process through GitHub anyways. So it'll create that connection for your account for you. So note your email address. And then two, what we're going to do is download VS Code and Git to make changes. So right now, this is our markup file. We can preview what it looks like. So we have the header here. Welcome. So like I said, any Markdown files, and especially README, it's the default that shows up on GitHub. So this is the information that we have, and we can commit changes. So right here, you can also, customize things like indent mode if you want spaces or tabs, how big you want those indents to be, no wrap, soft wrap, whatever. I keep those default, but again, some people like to customize. And then what you want to do is down here, so this is what it's going to look like. The default is update readme.md. So any changes are attached to a comment or a description of what happened in that change. This is really helpful if you're working in a group. Anytime you make any change, whether that's a whole block of code, a new function, a new class, or even just a small semicolon, that's all going to be that can all be categorized into a different commit or a different change. So you want to be descriptive in the way that you describe what it is that you're changing. So the default here is update readme. You can put anything, and you can put an optional extended description. So we're going to leave that for now. And there's two options that we have here. We can either commit directly to the main branch. So like I said, since we're the owner of this repository, you can do that. If we have collaborators, which I can show you how to add later on, if we have collaborators, then it'd be best to, as a collaborator, I think you only have the option to create a new branch, and then whoever owns the repository will have to approve those changes and merge to main. So for now, let's commit directly to the main branch, and we can commit changes. So now this is our README. We have 23 lines, and it's updated now. So we can even look at the history. We had the initial commit here. So if we take a look, it was an empty file before. This is right when we first created the repository. And we added 2 new lines. So this repository is a test run for using GitHub and Git. If you'll remember, that was the description of our project. And this is the name of our repository. And then when we went to update readme.md, we added all of these lines, and nothing was removed. But if it was, it would show up in red. So anything green shows up as added. Black or white means it stayed the same. So you can write comments on whatever changes you've made, or you can, there's nothing to preview right now. So let's leave this for now. We can go back to GitHub tutorial. So this is just a way that you can edit files right in your GitHub account. This is fine for README files. Once you have code, you know, if you have a Java or Python file, it's going to be hard to debug right in GitHub. I think it's, yeah, control period will actually open up the online editor, so VS Code. So you can also do this, but what I'll do for now is we're gonna clear this. I'm just gonna write the command. So control, or if you're on Mac, command, that'll open up the online editor. So that's something that's new, fairly new, I think. Okay, so now I'm going to link how to install Git and VS Code. I already have these installed. I will also link the documentation for instructions on how to install them. Basically, the main instructions that you'll be going over is just configuring your account on GitHub to Git bash. So I'm just going to open that up. I'm going to open VS Code as well. Okay. So I'm going to open Git bash. So it's just an app, looks like this, and it'll open up a terminal. So what we want to do here is first, I'm going to put this stuff on my desktop, but you can put it anywhere. So you can change directory in a terminal by using the command cd, if anyone's familiar with terminal commands. And then I'm going to make a new directory by using command mkdir, and I'm going to call it GitHub. GitHub test. Let's do that. And then now that that's been created, I'm going to go into that folder. And now we're going to clone the repository that we've created. So to do that, the command is git clone and then the link of your repository. So just copy that up here and you can paste it. So now it'll say it's cloning, 100% done, and everything has been cloned. What you'll notice here is we're still in the same directory. We're still in GitHub test. Remember that our repository name is GitHub tutorial. So we've created a folder and then we've cloned that repository inside. We want to go inside that repository. So we're going to change directory once again. We're going to go into GitHub tutorial. Now what you can see is this blue indicator, and it can be different on your computer. It's different the way that you've customized the settings, but it'll show up. There will definitely be an indicator that you're now in the repository. So either this will say master or main, something along those lines. It's highlighted in blue for me. This is how I know that now I'm in the repository. So there's a command called ls, which will list all of the files in here. So right now we just have readme.md. If you're on Mac, there's a different way to show the hidden files. On Windows, it's ls -la, I believe. Yes. But on Mac, it's just -la. It's a shortcut. Either one will work. So here we see that we have the README file that we've created just now. And we also have a couple of other files. .git is the hidden file that hosts the repository that you have. I wouldn't recommend changing anything in that directory. So I would just stay in this main branch, and anything that you'll need to do will be in here. So basically, we just have the main branch here. And now we can open up VS Code, which I believe I've linked the download instructions there as well. So what we can do is we can open a folder, and in my desktop, I can see GitHub test here, which is the one that we just created, and I can select this to open. What you'll see here is the README file that we just created. And here I can make changes as I'd like. I can add updated instructions. So I'm making changes right now. This will show up depending on, again, your settings. This just means that I'm making changes. And basically, if those are all the changes I want to make, let's say I want to, instead of installation procedures and documentation clarification, I want to remove this. So when you're writing code, whatever changes you want to make, you can do in here. Let's say we want to create a new file. Well, before that, let's push these changes. So we've made these updates. If we go to our GitHub, well, you'll see it's the same. Nothing has been updated, right? So that's because we didn't commit any changes. We didn't make any pulls. Nothing was actually created with the actual GitHub account. We've just been doing this. We pulled it from the account to our local machine, and we created these changes locally. So in order to push these changes, we're going to have to use git bash. And here we're going to need a series of commands to just update that information. So what we'll do first is we need to make sure, so we've already cloned it, and we don't want to change anything in .git. We're good where we are as long as there's an indicator that we're in main or master. We can do git status to see what the status is on our branch. So we have here that we've modified README. So GitHub account knows that, okay, this needs some sort of update. And right now we have no changes added to commit. It'll actually tell you how to do that. You need to use git add and git commit. So what we're going to do is just that. We're going to add, we're going to use git add to move it from the working directory, which is currently on our local machine, into something that's called the staging area. So it's just another step. So we're going to add it, and then we are going to commit it, and then finally push it. So first what we're going to do is we're going to add, so git add and then the file name. So we've called it readme.md. That worked fine, no errors. You can also, if you have more than one file, you can use the extension -all. And that'll add all of the files that have been modified. But since we only have README for now, it'll just update, it'll work either way. Now what we can do is we can commit the files. So we're going to commit it to the main branch. So git commit -m means to the main branch. If we have a different branch, it's going to be a different extension. But since we're the owners of the repository, we're committing everything to the main branch. And then you need some sort of comment, again, to describe what your change, what the change you made was. So here I'm just going to say editing instructions for GitHub. And then it'll say one file change. We had 6 insertions and 4 deletions. You can double check this, I guess, if you'd like, but GitHub will do the math for you and it'll compare what you had before to what you have now. Let's check GitHub now. If we refresh, it'll still stay the same. So nothing has been updated. We still have the same file that we had before. The reason for this is we haven't actually pushed anything yet. So remember, we have to first add it from the working directory to the staging area, and then from the staging area, we commit it. Finally, we have to push it to GitHub. So that's an easy command, git push, and it's done. So now you can see that it's been pushed to this repository, and it went into the main branch. Now, if we go back to our GitHub, it's been updated. So this is really basic instructions on how to edit the file. Let's say in our VS Code, we want to create a new file. So what we can do is we can add a new file. We can make it a text file. We can say test.py. It can be Python. It can be whatever you'd like. So let's do a hello world. We can save it here. we go back to our git bash, just gonna put this here. We can do another git status. Nothing to commit, working tree clean. What we're going to do is, again, we're going to add our files. So we can do git add all, git commit test.py with creating. Oh, okay. This is not in the GitHub tutorial, so we didn't have it in the folder. Now it's been added, so if it's outside the folder, Git won't recognize it. So now that it's in, we can do another git status. Here it'll show that, okay, there's a file that has not been committed yet. We can add it, git add all, git, and then the name of the file, test.py, creating new Python file. Reminder, we need to commit it to the main branch. So, okay, commit. Commit to the main branch, the name of the file, test.py, with the message creating. Not match any files. I think I put it out of order. Git commit, dash okay, one file changed, one insertion, test.py, and then now what we can do is just push it, and it's been updated. And now if we refresh our GitHub here, we have our test.py here. So you can also edit it in here. Again, though, if you're running a program that has dependencies and different classes and whatnot, you won't be able to debug or run it here. You could go into the editor, but again, that has its limitations as well. So that was just a quick overview of how to create files, create repositories, update those files. What we can do is we can go into the settings real quick. So let's just go here. So you can rename your repository, no problem. If you have, if you want to add collaborators, you're just going to need to confirm your password, and then you can add people on GitHub. So you can search by their username, their full name, or their GitHub email. So if you are going to be a collaborator on someone else's project, this is where you're going to need your email as well, and your GitHub username, which you can find right here. So you can add people here. Either way, you're going to need to review their push and pull requests, and anything that needs to be merged to main will have to be done by you. So a couple other things, if you're working in a group, transparency and communication are very, very important. So what you can do is you can create a new issue. You can say something like button malfunction, depending on what the project is. And you can say when clicking on the button, the screen turns red. You can submit that issue. This is where you're going to find all of your pull requests, and you can merge into your main branch here. I wouldn't worry too much about the actions projects. Wiki is more so for bigger projects that need a lot more documentation. And then your settings, most of what you will be doing is in your collaborators. So I hope that was a good introduction to GitHub and Git. That's pretty much the basic commands that you'll need. And I think I've linked all of the important links below. So if anyone has any questions, I can take them now, but that's it on my end.
Thank you, Leila, for the wonderful workshop right there. Really appreciate it. If K has any question, I guess it's time the perfect time to ask it now. And yeah. Oh, he doesn't have any questions, or she. So yeah, thank you, Layla. I'm gonna end the
Thanks so
meeting
much.
now. Yep.
All right.
Have a
Okay.
good day.
Have a good one. Take care.